Sports Spectacular here on the air. Welcome to July. Larry Smith, Mike Angley, Brad Sturdy. Glad you're here with us. Once again, another big weekend. Hopefully you've had a great 4th and you still have some more fireworks and or food left. Enjoy both while you enjoy the show. Hey, listen, we've got a roundtable coming up here in a few minutes. Matt Stevens and Kedrick Prince of the Illini guys. We'll talk a little Illini basketball, also some football, Illini money as well. That's a real big topic, not just in Illinois, but all across the country right now. A lot of big decisions are coming out down the pike here in the next 60, 90 days. Speaking of, in hour number 2, a special guest. We've got the commissioner from the Mid-American Conference, the MAC, talking about what it's like in this new era of college athletics, even when you're one of the schools that does not have massive tens of millions of dollars coming in from a TV contract. Interesting conversation with him, and we'll talk to him in a few minutes. Also, a bit later, a little football talk, part of the Eye on the Illini podcast. We'll hear part of that conversation. Mike talking with Matt Stevens and Steve Sturm. It's a very busy couple of hours here. Glad you're with us on the show. Gentlemen, let's talk NBA Summer League. We got past the draft. You know, Terrence Shannon taken in the first round to Minnesota. But the Summer League starting, and we've got several former Illini playing. Lots of reasons to watch these games in Las Vegas.
Yeah, it's great. You got four Illini over the past few years who are in the summer league. We've talked Terrence Shannon, obviously Minnesota Timberwolves, Marcus Domask, Chicago Bulls, Quincy Guerrier with the Toronto Raptors, and then Georgi who was with the Indiana Pacers. So both Guerrier and Domask got Exhibit 10 contracts, which are basically tryout deals where they have an opportunity they get a bonus, could be anywhere from $5,000 to $75,000. And then they're basically at the league minimum, if they end up making the team. And then, Shannon will get his deal for being in the first round. And Georgie, he played some in the G League. Now he's looking to try and find something, maybe make squad. He does have a unique set of skills. That's always interesting with a guy like him.
Yeah, there's a lot of rooting interest in this. And of course, it's such a fantastic story of Terrence Shannon Jr. betting on himself and winning that court case. And now he's with the Timberwolves. I find a lot of the pictures that the Timberwolves are releasing of him in the locker room and doing various things around Minneapolis is just fantastic. And it's really good to see that story worked out well. And I'm going to be watching to see how he does.
Yeah, and I think, too, I just think his game translates to the NBA so well. He's one of these players that at age 23, 5 years at 2 major programs, all conference at 2 different conferences, All-American, all the records he set. He's just it really works so hard. I can't wait to see him get onto this stage and how he does. And then, of course, the fall and the other guys as well. A lot of fun reasons, again, to watch the Summer League. And it's so much fun the way they do that now, make it into the tournament kind of thing. Gives it a little more excitement as well. I think it's not just guys playing. You actually have a reason to root for certain teams and certain games. It kind of brings a little pizzazz to it. Speaking of watching, we've enjoyed watching some of the early videos coming out of this Illini basketball program as most of the guys are on campus. And again, most of the guys are new to campus. So every moment together is precious. Your thoughts as you begin to see some of the, the video leaking and things you guys have had in conversations with staffers and other people about how these guys look so far.
Yeah, I think the guy that, we're still waiting. Tomislav hasn't been playing with them. He should, is there, on the way here, and then Will Riley a little bit later. But of the guys who are there, I think that what I've heard from everyone involved, coaches and staff members, has been, Kasparas, Hakusionis has been legit. People are saying, it was funny. One person said, he's got a chance to start and, he'd be a really good player. Another person said he could be Big Ten freshman of the year. One person said, why would we stop at freshman? He might be the Big Ten player of the year. He's that good. He's just elite. Now, I don't want to get the hype train because sometimes people get a little excited about that stuff, but he's really good. He's got all the skills there. Before those guys arrived, Trey White was really playing well. The Louisville transfer, people are really high on him. I think we've seen growth from the, like Draven Gibbs-LaHorn and Ty Rodgers. And the other guys, Ben Humrickhouse he's a proven guy. He is what he is, right? I mean, I think he can score, do really good things. But I think the other guy that's really impressed people is Merez Johnson. Because he is so relentless on the glass and he runs the floor. He's that athletic guy. I mean, can you imagine if he would have been on the team a year ago and you'd had him so Coleman Hawkins to slide over and play his natural 4 position, and you still have a Merez who could battle inside and physical and run the floor and do all those things, even for just, if he can do that 15 minutes, 20 minutes a game, just bring that relentless motor. I mean, this team has a chance to be really, really good.
Yeah, that video was really an eye opener for me. Kasparos was he did some moves. Those are NBA moves. Now, granted, it's just practice. We also saw Ty Rodgers knocking down some
practice,
shots.
Man, practice.
Exactly. Ty Rodgers knocking down some jump shots, which was awesome to see. And I think overall, the guy that I keep hearing his name come up a lot is Trey White, and very few Illini fans are even talking about him right now. And so when you have that many players who are playing well early on, that's certainly a positive indicator. But as many people say, you need to turn on the lights in the State Farm Center and put an opponent before we can really start judging things.
I think one thing we had 3 different players last year who scored 30 points in a game at some point, right? Shannon, Domask, and Coleman Hawkins. I don't know if you have that, but I think you can look at this lineup right now and say, hey, there's at least 4 guys that can put up 20 any night, maybe even more than that. Richhouse, KJ, Trey White, and obviously Tomislav Ivic when he comes in, and possibly even a Kylan Boswell. So I mean, I think that's a thing too in terms of some depth. Like last year, you have enough pieces there that you can't, as you get in deeper in the season against some of these other players, if things progress the way everyone would like them to, you'll have enough pieces there and enough different weapons that you can't just key on one guy.
Yeah, I think that's one of the keys this year. They don't, last year you knew the ball was going to be booty ball with Domask and Shannon in transition. You knew what it was going to be. This year it might be, some booty ball with Trey White or Rickhouse, or Rickhouse may be running ball screens. You may use Kasparos running ball screens. You may have transition, and Boswell may play some point, but he also may play some 2-guard where he's a spot up shooter with those other guys creating. Draven Gibbs-Lahorn, he's an instant offense type guy. We saw that at times a year ago. He just doesn't have the consistency. There are so many. They can play Ty Rodgers and booty ball if you have 4 shooters around there. So who do you put on him? Do you play a small guy on him, or do you play a big guy on him? Well, if you put the big guy on him, now they go post up, Tomislav or Merez against the smaller guy. So they're going to play matchups, and they can really do some unique things offensively. I do think the key to their season, I think they're going to be very good offensively, is going to be what they do on the defensive end. Are they good enough defensively to make that next step? Because that was probably their downfall a year ago. They weren't great defensively, and they were okay at times, but they weren't great. They have to be great, on both ends to get where they want to go.
We haven't seen all these guys play live. Certainly, we know there's a few good defenders on the team, but I think Brad hit the nail on the head. Morez is a dog defensively. He's on a scale of 1 to 10 for intensity. He's right around 11. You have Ty Rodgers, who's a very similar player. And Gibbs-Lahorn has also developed, ironically, into a defensive player as well. You find a couple more guys and you can get some stops. Underwood's going to have so many more options than he's had in the past. I think it's going to be a lot of fun to see where he lands. And I think Illinois, with their roster, they can actually dictate and take the initiative in a game based on who they put in there and making other teams adapt to what Illinois is doing.
Yeah. Brad, you mentioned Tomislav Ivic not on campus yet. We know sometimes with the international players, there can be some delay and visas, that kind of thing. What's the expectation of him getting to Champaign?
This week. I mean, like this,
Okay.
Right. He should be here anytime.
Okay.
Can he get it? Some of it's submissions too, making sure they can get the right, the credits all fit, that he gets admitted, has all those scores that he's going to need for those situations. So, yeah, but I think he'll be here. It's not going to be like his brother. I think Will Riley's going to be here very soon as well. So those guys want to get here too, because they're ready to get with these guys. I mean, if you watch that video, don't you want to get out there and play against them? I mean,
yeah.
I did. I want to go back 35 years and play against them, but I don't want to, but you know what I mean? But I maybe not now, but, 30 years ago, but yeah, no, it just looked like a lot of fun.
I'm not thinking 30 years ago be any better than now with the talent that this team is showing on the floor. But I do think there's look, Illinois has decided we've paid for a really good coaching staff, and now we're going to aggressively give them the ability to get players with a fantastic NIL support. That's what you get when you're all in. And I think Brad Underwood, with his JUCO background, is the right coach for this time. And I think we can look at some really, really good runs here. I think the biggest challenge he's going to have is keeping everybody happy. I'm not saying that anybody's not happy, but with 10 guys who can realistically play and contribute, it's hard to find enough minutes to keep everybody with thumbs up.
I'd even say 11, Mike, because Jake Davis was, what did he score? 9 points a game at Mercer. So, I mean, like, that's not a bad 11th man. And, but I think he's realistic, as is Jason Jackson. They're both talented, and they're both guys who might play in a year or two, but those other 10 guys, not only are they talented, they expect to play at least 10 to 15 minutes a game in a role.
Good point. A guy we expected to be part of the 2025 class at Illinois is no more. Jeremiah Fears declassifying this week. Brad, can you tell us what happened with this? He's a 5-star guard, older brother, flirted with Illinois, went all the way down to the wire before going to Michigan State. And now it appears Jeremiah is going to skip Champaign as well.
Yeah, Jeremiah has always wanted to go in 2024. Personally, my opinion is I think it's not great. Young guards that reclassify, small guards that reclassify, haven't had great success moving up. I think he needs another year of strength and development, and then he would come in and be a really good player in 2025. But he wanted to go now. Illinois, obviously, they took Will Riley. There's no place for him to get playing time. If you watch that video and you look at the guards and you're thinking, gee, where does he fit? Probably not on this roster. So, and so he wants to play. And so I don't blame him for anything here. This is a good fit for him. He's going to get a little NIL probably from somebody in 2024 and get a chance to go somewhere and play right away. So, it may be one of those situations where it's a win-win, because you don't know, in a year or two, he may want to come back. Illinois has an opening at point guard and need a guy, and things didn't go well at where he was. Maybe you take him back.
Yeah, I think that's the key to recruiting nowadays is you want to end every relationship positively, even one that is like this, where a player goes in a little bit of a different direction. But I will say that it's smart of the family to understand, and the coaching staff, to be honest with one another, because you don't want to get a player here who realistically is not going to play, and then you get frustration mounting up. So I think this was a good play by the coaching staff and by the family to go in a different direction.
Well, one name to throw out with that in mind, Terrence Shannon. Illinois misses out on him on the first time around. He goes down to Texas Tech, finds his way back to campus, and winds up, his number is going to be up in the rafters, right? I mean, it's kind of 2 years that he had here. No question about that. So much more to come here on the Sports Spectacular, the Illini Roundtable. We bring in Matt and Ked to join us, and we'll talk a little Illini sports, little hoops, little football, and more. It's all coming up here on the Illini Guys Radio Network. And don't forget, be sure to check out IlliniGuys.com. Free 7-day trial right now. Check it out and get all this information yesterday. Why wait?